Right? This is not a ride sharing video. I repeat, this is not a ride sharing video. For you folks on YouTube, understand this may be a couple days behind. A lot of the MAGA and Trump related material that makes its way to social media does get censored, blocked, or sometimes banned. So we do the best we can to get it to the folks as soon as possible. What up, folks? Once again, it is your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Make no mistake about it, regardless if you were eating barbecue, enjoying the festivities, or simply watching fireworks. In America, we had a very violent holiday weekend. 3 different mass casualty events. One taking place in Fort Worth, Texas. Get my notes here. 3 people lost their lives, 8 were injured, and that was on Monday of this week. Sunday, a day earlier in the city of Baltimore, we had 2 folks losing their lives and 28 people were injured. And last but not least, Philadelphia had a 40-year-old African-American walking down the street with an AR-15 and body armor, took the life of 5 individuals. So it's been a very violent weekend. And I'm going to ask the question we asked in regards to many of these mass casualty events. Do we care in this country? If you were an outsider looking in at America, do you believe we're doing anything that would lead an outsider to believe with all the mass casualty events you guys are having, you really care about getting this stuff under wraps? Do we seem to give a damn that so many folks are losing their lives in mass casualty events? That's what we're going to be talking about today. As always, the program is and forever will remain MAGA friendly. MAGA are my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome. What do we say on every broadcast? We do not block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. Fact that you might disagree with the host, nobody gives a damn. Looking in the comments, no, they don't. Yeah, and Rich D. King, in my humble opinion, if I was an outsider looking in, I would certainly believe America does not give a damn. But would it be better if we had a Republican president or we were in a Republican city? Or does it make a difference with Biden being president? In addition to that, not even Mexico has such violence. Wow, that's harsh. But certainly when it comes to schools, a lot of that's true. So, I mean, what could we possibly do? Because mass casualty events are damn near uniquely American, particularly when it comes to schools. I don't even know if schools in Iraq or Afghanistan have children going to school and never coming home. It's like it's a uniquely American problem. So what makes us so different? Why is it seeming to happen here? Crystal, appreciate that, Crane. Thank you. Starting the program all right. Thank you. By the way, folks, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 5,000 likes. Helps out the algorithm, brings in more MAGA, which is what I always stress is my preferred guest. But do we seem to give a damn? Because this keeps happening here. And if anything, the frequency of mass casualty events in America seems to be on an uptick. 3 over the weekend. In fact, the Fort Worth massacre, 3 dead, 8 injured, and the Baltimore massacre, 2 dead, 28 injured. I don't even believe the assailants have been located by the authorities. So the perpetrators of those 2 events are still on the loose. And of course, the individual in Philadelphia that took the life of 5 folks, they have captured him alive. The box is open. Looking in the comments, it's like we need gun reform, says Blue Boy. But the question is, in regards to gun reform, how could we ever get it? Do you believe folks on the right, Second Amendment supporters, do you believe they would ever support any form of gun reform at all? Because that's what we're asking. Does it seem like we don't give a damn or have literally become desensitized? I saw someone say that in the comments earlier. Desensitized to these mass casualty events that we're now just simply willing to accept them and live with them. Outlaw every Democrat on earth. So what do you suggest? You throw half the population in prison? You're talking about, remember, you're talking about folks on the right who do not like entitlements, do not like rising taxes. If you put every Democrat as an outlaw, you're going to be paying a hell of a lot of money for all the criminalized Democrats. You think your taxes won't raise up with all the Democratic population in prison? Think about what you say before you say it. Look it in the comments. It's pretty obvious that we care more about guns than kids, said Mr. Walter White. That's sad. That really is sad if that is the case. But I will tell you this from my own personal analysis. After every mass casualty event, right after the thoughts and prayers portion of it, we do tend to say now is not the time to start talking about having a gun debate. And what we generally have are states passing laws to protect the shall not be infringed upon portion of the Second Amendment. So literally after most mass casualty events, what we in this country do is we strengthen the right of citizens to obtain firearms. So it does appear as if we might be a little bit more sympathetic towards gun ownership than we are towards folks losing their lives to those guns. Going straight to the box, Keith, good. Welcome to the program. The question we're asking, so many mass casualty events, if you were an outsider looking in, do you think America gives a damn? Are we doing something that would lead folks to believe we actually care about this problem?
No, I don't think so. I think that people look at us and think it's the wild, wild west, right? I think that we've become too desensitized to it. I mean, we look at this and it's too much of it all the time. It's like before you even get over one, you have another one. It's so frequent that it's just become second nature. And like you're talking about like gun reform, and what ends up happening, what I see happening is you have different types of gun reform where they put like taxes on ammo. You know, this is like a commonality like in California where
But let me interrupt you and say this before we get into these possible solutions in the comments, because I want to ask: is this something? Is the solution involving politics of particular sides of the aisle? Because in the comments, Jimmy Acosta is suggesting that Democrats are the ones that are shooting everyone. Do you think this is a uniquely Democratic issue for someone to suggest that all of the killings are being done by Democrats? Where does that come from?
No, I don't see that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like people love to like throw darts, right? Like you see people like throwing it at like the trans community or, Democrats or like white supremacists, or people like to pigeonhole like all of these different groups. It's like you can do that all day long. There's a definite problem with mental illness in this country, and it's widespread everywhere. If you look at mass casualties in this country, it's like a lot of it doesn't even make the news.
That is true.
So if you went over all the demographics, it's like I think that people would be surprised. It's all over the place.
So let's say, for instance, you were given the title of commander in chief. You had a little bit more power than even a president has. What would you recommend? What would you do to tackle what's going on in this country?
Well, I mean, Tim, you and I have talked about this before, and you know that I'm an NRA member, and I'm ex-military. I've been an NRA member. I was a lifetime NRA member when I joined the military. So I got grandfathered in from 40 years ago. So it's not like I'm a yearly member. It's like I joined as a lifetime forever before it started getting crazy. And I know that a lot of members don't agree with me because I think there needs to be restrictions on age limits to like ARs. I don't believe that you should be able to own an AR until you're like 25. That's not saying that you're not able to shoot it. It's like, I started learning how to shoot. I was a competitive shooter. I started learning at like 7, 8 years old. It's like, but you can still shoot with your brother or with an uncle or with your dad and shoot these weapons. You
Here's something
can't
that
go into a
let me
store
say
and
this.
buy them.
Now I know this is off topic, but I just wanted to bring this up because you mentioned even though you don't recommend allowing a person to own an AR until they're 25, you're okay with still letting someone shooting. You were talking about as young as 7 or 8. When we have the LGBT debate, can you explain this to me? Why do folks believe that it is take if a parent takes their kid to a drag queen show, that is more harmful to the child than taking their child to a range and letting them shoot at targets that look like human beings. Can you explain that?
I don't know. I really don't. It's
I don't get it. I just don't.
it's like that's apples and oranges. I don't understand where that dichotomy gets mixed between each other. That just boggles my mind.
Yeah.
But to
Yeah,
me, there
because
needs to
I
be.
understand folks are suggesting, taking a child to these events is exposing them to sexuality, but you're literally teaching your child how to commit a homicide. And they don't think a 7, 8 year old kid is mentally competent enough to know that you don't take the firearm when you're not at a range and go out and murder somebody. But the same child would not know how to control themselves sexually from going to a drag queen show. It just never made any sense to me.
I mean, I think that most individuals, even most gun owners, believe in there should be federal like guidelines, and there's not. There should be like you got to get rid of the gun show loopholes where you can't go into a gun show and walk out with a dozen guns.
But how do you respond to folks who suggest the gun show loophole doesn't exist? I've had a lot of folks who suggest that is something that the liberals are making up and that's not even a real issue.
Because they're picking their state.
Oh,
From state to state, these laws are different. You can't do it in a state like California, but there's
right.
states that you can do it in. That's what I'm saying about on a federal level. That needs to change because like
Like right, like right now, while you're speaking, MJ Mito in the comments is saying there is no gun show loophole like that anymore. In other words, it does not exist nationwide. There is no loophole to obtain firearms in that manner.
absolutely false.
Yeah.
Absolutely false. And you still have guns that are being sold from individual to individual. You can't like that's not legal, but people are still doing that. It's like technically you have to go through an FFL if you're doing that. But people are not doing that. There needs to be stricter regulations
But
on how you
how
transfer.
can you, but keep in mind, most Second Amendment folks are against having some type of government registrar. So if you purchase a firearm and the government is not entitled to know you basically even own it, they just know you have the right to own guns, but they have no clue of what's in your arsenal. Then if that's the case, how can we ever be sure that you're not selling it to somebody else that doesn't have the right to own it?
This is the big argument, right? Like people a large people amount of people on the right doesn't want anybody to know what they own. It's like
Yeah.
those laws that were written in the early 70s about not having a database, which is still in effect today. Most people don't realize this. Most people don't realize that there is not a mainframe. Like people in the chat are going to think that this is bullshit. There's not a computer system in America that has a database that has everybody's information on what they own. That stuff is on microfiche. Most people don't even know what microfiche is. You and I know what that is.
Yeah, that's going back. That's going. So, in other words, if I go to a gun store, an actual gun store, not a show, but an actual gun store, and I purchase 2 or 3 AR-15s, there is no government record out there in existence that will show this guy went in here on this day and bought 3 or 4 guns like that.
There is a record that you bought it. The problem is it doesn't go into a computer system like that the FBI or the Department of Justice that has that information. It goes into a microfiche system. They even had a documentary on where that goes to. The problem is if you sell that, and even though it goes through an FFL, that stuff, it's hard to track that because once you
So,
sell
so let me
that,
let's say for instance, I purchased a few long rifles in a gun friendly state like Alabama, and then I drive across country and I commit mayhem in New Mexico, and they do seize the firearms. I'm not talking at all, or maybe I'm no longer even alive. How do they find out where those weapons originated?
they have to, uh, law enforcement has to put in paperwork and that can be researched. The
Okay.
problem is a lot of it, once it goes from one hand to another hand to another hand, a lot of that is lost. And it's hard to go and find through those microfiche where that went to because it's not in a computer system,
Mm,
because there is no big computer system in America holding that information,
wow.
and they
All right.
don't want it that way. And
Yeah, and I was about to say I do got to move it on, but I was about to say that it seems like when you look at how we prevent guns from really being federally registered and things like that, it's almost like we want folks who are up to no good to have it easier because all of this stuff benefits the bad guys. All of this does. You're making it kind of like a clandestine ownership. I mean, this is very beneficial to somebody who's trying to do no good.
oh, absolutely. And like I'm looking in the chat, and people are like, "Oh, this guy's living under a rock. He doesn't know what he's talking about." Google it. Don't
Right.
believe me. Google it.
All
It's
right,
like
Keith.
this is what people on the right have been arguing for the last 50 years. They want to keep these laws in check. They don't want people to have a database. People on the right don't want you to know which guns you own.
Mm.
That's a fact.
And that certainly benefits the bad guy. All right, Keith. Appreciate you coming in, man.
Take care, Tim.
You too. Now, folks, what we're talking program is and shall forever remain MAGA friendly. MAGA are my preferred guest. I'll go back to the box. But what we're talking about, because a few more folks have joined in, tap the screen. Should be around 20,000 likes. Some of you guys got lazy thumbs in here. Show your boy some love. Helps out the algorithms. If you do tap the screen, it brings in more MAGA. That's our preferred guest. We had 3 mass casualty events in this country over a holiday weekend. On Monday, just what is it? Today's Wednesday. 2 days ago in Fort Worth, we had a mass casualty event. 3 lost their lives and 8 were injured. Had an even bigger event in Baltimore. Although 2 lost their lives, 28 were injured. Now, keep in mind, in the Fort Worth and the Baltimore incident, the authorities have not even caught the folks who did this. They're still on the loose. They're still offering big rewards in Baltimore. 2 dead, 28 injured. And then, of course, in Philadelphia, had a guy walking down the street in body armor and an AR-15 that authorities state was firing recklessly, aimlessly, just literally hitting whatever he could get his hands on. He killed 5 people. He killed 5 people wearing body armor with an AR-15. And the question we're asking is, if you were an outsider looking at America, having these mass casualty events almost at least weekly, if not even more frequent, are we doing anything that would lead a person that is looking at us from the outside looking in? Are we doing anything that would lead somebody to believe we actually care about all these mass casualty events? Or would someone looking at us from a foreign entity have the belief that they don't seem to even give a damn about all the schools, liquor stores, churches, grocery stores, people up and down the street. People are getting taken out every damn where. Do we appear as if we care about this and really want to curtail it? That's the question we're asking. Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving. Andy, welcome to the program. All America cares about right now is promoting the LGBT community. Shaking shots. I'm assuming you have not heard about the recent ruling of the Supreme Court. Do you believe the Supreme Court cares about promoting the LGBT community? What about Ron DeSantis? You believe he cares about that? That makes no sense. There are plenty of folks that do not give a damn about promoting the LGBT community. Andy, good afternoon.
Hello. I
Do
was
we give a
thinking
damn about mass casualty events?
some of us do, and Judge Alito, in a ruling in 2010, I think, said you're not entitled to any weapon you want.
Well, that seems to have changed.
Well, no, it's what they think and not what the actual law is, and that seems to be the problem. But I have a way to solve all this. Make bullets cost $1,000 because there is no laws on the bullets because they
Well,
had muskets back then.
but what about folks who actually make their own rounds?
Yeah, but you know how few. I mean, that
Yeah.
is considering, I mean, we could cut down all of these 18-year-olds that are getting mad at school, and it definitely would not, Kyle Rittenhouse couldn't have gotten away with what he did.
Yeah, I do agree because you hear folks suggest that if you ban guns or whatever, people are going to go out and print their own weapons and things like that. And when you talk about homemade firearms or homemade ammunition, it does represent a tiny, tiny portion of gun ownership in this country. There's very few people in terms of the whole. Most firearms that are taken off the street are not printed weapons with homemade ammunition in there. So I do agree with
Right.
you that
And
it
if
is a
they buy
small
the
portion.
stuff to make the ammunition, there's no record saying that that can't be on file.
Well, let me ask you this: in the comments, Freak Thought, love the name. Freak Thought said, "What about hunting? Though, would you charge $1,000 a round for somebody to hunt and feed their family?"
Um, Shotgun and rifles that are basic and not, 15 shots at a time, sure, because if you need that many, you're not that good a hunter. I know. My dad taught me how by the time I was 5.
Yeah.
That's a
Well,
thing in Alabama.
I will also say this too. Most of the mass casualty events that we're dealing with, they're not happening in areas where people hunt. So, I mean, you can hunt, but that you don't need you're not hunting if you live in the middle of New York City.
Right. Exactly. And you're not, I mean, like I said, when you look at what that particular does to the animal you're hunting anyway, unless you're hunting wild boar, because they're prevalent in
Well,
Georgia and
I
they're
don't,
prevalent here in Alabama.
I gotta disagree with that. I heard Whoopi Goldberg or someone make a similar statement that using an AR destroys the animal. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. You can hunt with that weapon and have plenty of meat. It doesn't do that. I mean, it's a very high powered round that
Yeah,
does a lot
but
of damage, but you can hunt and certainly have a decent amount of meat to bring home. It doesn't blow the animal into smithereens like
but you
Whoopi
and I both
Goldberg
know
said.
that that weapon's not as precise. So where you hit it's not going to be as precise
An
as say
AR-15?
with a. It's not the same as my Winchester 30-30. I mean, it's just not. I grew up around them my whole life. I mean, you know,
You don't believe an AR-15 is very precise?
in, in most people's hands, absolutely not.
Okay. But a trained hunter.
Yes, but I mean, like that's not who you're seeing going out and committing these crimes.
No, I agree with that. They're not trained hunters, but I just asked you that because I watch a lot of folks hunting feral hogs on
But
YouTube and they're using ARs and
if
they're
if,
precise as hell.
if you're
I mean,
hunting though, what's your problem with registering?
well, they believe they operate. It's very similar to how a lot of folks tell African Americans slavery ended hundreds of years ago. Quit acting like you're always scared that you're going to be put back in slavery. Well, the Second Amendment crowd believes that there is always a chance that the government is going to rise up, become tyrannical, and go from house to house if they have a registration and take their weapons. So that's the reason they don't want to register them, because they believe the government's going to come to your house and take it because you got a
They don't.
gun.
They don't stand a chance if they do anyway. And they're probably not going to send a human. They're probably going to send a drone.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. You're not going to fight off the U.S. government with what you got in your house. You can have
I
that
don't.
delusion. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
had to
don't
pin the
for the
guy down
life
in an
of me.
argument on that one day, and he goes, "Well, it'll keep the other guys out of my house, but it won't keep the government out." I said, "Well, at least it's nice to know you have that much sense."
Yeah. I don't for the life of me ever understand how people in 2023 or even 1983 would believe that what they got in their closet or in their basement could stop government tyranny. I think David Koresh out there in Waco, Texas, he had a whole house full of arms and a hell of a lot of people in his house that were willing to get in a gunfight with the authorities, and they still lost. One or two dudes, I don't know why people think that their guns, their firearms they have in their possession could ever stave off tyranny. To me, it's ridiculous.
I completely agree because, like I said, a drone shows up at your house, you're done.
Yeah, yeah,
And nobody
yeah.
even has
I
to be
don't.
there. The guy looks at you through a screen and goes, "Bye." I mean,
Yeah, that's what's happening in Ukraine right now. So let me ask you this though: if you were put in power, you were the commander in chief, had broad powers, what would you do, or at least recommend, to help curtail all of these folks losing their lives in these mass casualty events?
well, first of all, like these red states who had gun laws and background checks and the like that got rid of all of them for constitutional carry, that would have to go because there has always been a form of gun control in this country since its inception.
Yeah.
They need
So
to go
you
look that
believe?
up.
So you support registration?
Yes.
Okay, but
I
I
support a
mean,
class to teach them how to use it too. We're one of the few places that let you walk out of there without knowing a dang thing. I mean, what would it hurt for you to take a 2 or 3 hour class?
well, many gun
Oh,
owners
honey, my
do.
daddy does agree. My daddy raised me to be a very good hunter, and he also raised me to be respectful and take care of my firearm and keep it safe. And the problem, like in our state, our police begged the governor not to do what she did.
What
They
about an age
begged her
limit?
not to,
What about an
because
age limit?
most of the weapons here that committed crimes were stolen out of some responsible owner's car,
What
or they
about an
didn't
age?
secure it.
What about an age limit? Do you believe the current allowing basically the minute you turn 18, you can get your hands on a firearm? Do you believe the age limit should be changed at all?
I think it should be changed all the way across the board to 21. You shouldn't even get to register for the military till you're 21.
Mm. So you
And
would
if you can't
you,
drink, you shouldn't be able to have to go fight and lose your life.
but you would weaken our military by doing it. There's a hell of a lot of people in the military that are under 21. You don't see that?
It,
Let me give it to you this way. By the time an American,
okay,
hold
let
on,
me
let
tell
me
you
give,
why I
let,
feel this
wait,
way and
wait,
see
wait, wait
what
a
you
minute.
think.
Let me say this before you say your statement. By the time most Americans are 21, if they're going on a straight and narrow path, I'll take myself for an example. By the time I was 21, I already had a college degree. So at that point, I could go out and earn more money than somebody enlisted in the military. The military wants these younger kids because they can offer them incentives that a 21-year-old might not need. I didn't need assistance for college at that age. Whereas at 17 or 18, I would have been more likely to want that free training. But if you wait till they're 21 and they don't got a bachelor's degree or something already, you're gonna have a harder time recruiting people.
Well, then I think they should bring the drinking age down because that should be across the board, you know, eh, fair for all. I mean, you can't ask them to go out there and put their life on the line and then say, "Oh, but you can't have that beer after you get done." That's, you're too young.
So
And
you're
in
weighing
this
all this up,
country,
you're putting all this up against the ability to have an alcoholic beverage?
no, I'm putting it on the fairness of a certain age.
Okay. I
You know,
don't
if
know
you can
about
buy a weapon at that age, if you can join the military at that age, if that's when you're an adult, that's when you're an adult. But if you're an adult at 21, the rest of it should be the same as well. Do you see what I'm saying? And when we
Well,
were
but here's
young,
the difference, though. Here's the difference, though. If you're in the military and they give you a weapon, as opposed to a citizen in society, that training you're talking about people should get, you're not going to get a weapon in the military without training. And not only that, but when you are in possession of that weapon, you're for the most part under all sorts of guards and limitations. You don't get to leave base and walk around in the city with your M16 on you. Whereas a citizen just turned 18 does not have to get the training, and they can take their weapon any damn where. There are plenty of places in this country where you could damn near walk in a mall with an AR-15 on your back. The military is not going to allow you to do that.
really, because tell me what color you have to be able to do that and not to have somebody immediately look at you like you committing a crime.
They can look at you, but it's 100% legal. There was a what do you call it? Not Oath Keepers, the Tea Party. When the Tea Party was opposing President Obama, there was a Tea Party member that showed up to one of Obama's rallies with an AR-15 on his back. The Secret Service grabbed him, but they had to let him go. That's 100% legal in a lot of states.
Yeah, but in a lot of states, you know, the cops play judge, jury, and executioner as well.
Well, that's a
Just,
whole
you
different
know,
That's a different
and
conversation, but I totally agree because somebody in the comments said black people can't do that. I'll give you the last one. I got to move it on, but I agree with you in regards to certain people are going to get
look, and
treated
they said that
differently.
Democrats want to take away weapons. Every single one I know owns one, including me. And it's not about taking away anything. It's about being responsible for what you have
Fair enough. But
and
I will
taking
say this:
care
I know a
of
hell of a
it
lot of
and protecting.
Republicans. I know a hell of a
Well,
lot of Republicans that want to that have had abortions work for them, but they still want to take it away. So that's because you know armed Democrats don't mean they would not be a fan of re- greatly reducing the Second Amendment.
I can say that the majority of all of the ones I know, the only one they have a problem with is the same one I do, and for the same exact reason, because it's a mass casualty event, and
You talking about
that's it.
you talking about the AR, the AR.
Yep, and that's it. Most of
All
them,
right.
I do not believe that the rest of them would just take away. Look how many Democratic presidents we have. You still have them. Only time that there's ever been a ban on any of them was after Reagan. So basically, Republicans are saying they care more about Ronald Reagan than they care about their kids.
Mm. All right, Andy. Appreciate you coming in here. Moving on, how many deaths are acceptable then? Well, and that's the point we're trying to find out is if you were an outsider looking in, do you believe America is doing enough in regards to mass casualty events that an outsider looking in, a foreigner, maybe somebody in England or in Australia, looking at America would say, well, they are doing something to fix the problem? Or do we appear to be in a situation where we don't seem to even give a damn that we're having multiple mass casualty events in this country almost every week? We're talking about right now 3 dead in Fort Worth, 2 dead, 28 injured in Baltimore, and 5 lost their life in Philadelphia, all over July 4th weekend. 3 mass casualty events in the span of a 3-day weekend. Do we seem like we don't give a damn about this? Before we go back to the box, tap the screen, get your boy up to 30,000. There's 700 plus of you folks in here. It does help out the algorithm. The program is forever will remain MAGA friendly in its entirety. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. If you do come in the box and you disagree with the host, nobody gives a damn. Free speech, First Amendment rights always reign supreme in here, so you don't have to agree with yours truly. Tear me a new one, but understand I'm going to challenge you on your opinions. But you will be allowed to speak without any limitations at all. Looking in the comments, do you know that an AR bangs at the same rate and velocity as a hand pew-pew? Educate yourself. Stevie D, that is true. That is true, depending on the pistol. But for some reason, because of the appearance of the AR, it does get more attention. You can clearly commit a mass casualty event with a pistol. The Virginia Tech assailant some years ago took out a lot of people, 20-something, I think it was, with two handguns. And I'm going to be, like I said, I always make it clear, I'm going to be fair with you folks, regardless of what side of the aisle politics are coming from. Unlike my last caller, I'm willing to admit I do believe Democrats do want to, if not completely eliminate the Second Amendment, greatly reduce it. I do believe that. I'm not going to lie about it, even though I know, I listen to the heartbeat of my party. Just like the Republican side of the aisle will tell you we don't want to ban abortion. That's a lie, the same way the Democrats are lying about the Second Amendment. If you listen to the Democrats, we're not trying to take away everybody's damn gun. We just want the AR-15, or we just want long rifles, or we just want to do this limitation or that limitation. But folks on the right have a fear that if you give them the right to do any limitation, they're going to expand it towards taking away Second Amendment rights altogether. I'm not going to lie and pretend like there may not be some validity to that in certain areas of this country. But it's the same argument when it comes to the abortion debate. At the end of the day, the goal is a federal abortion ban, just like a federal Second Amendment right limitation. Both sides are flat out lying about their ultimate intention. Both sides are. If you listen to both sides, we only want to do this. I think the folks on the right, we only want to return the rights back to the states. That's bullshit. Both sides want what they're seeking on a federal level. As I say all the time, we don't block, ban, or censor anyone because we like to have realistic conversations. Both sides are lying about their intentions. All right, going back to the box. We'll keep it moving. Donna. Isn't there a titled Donna? Good afternoon, Donna. What the hell can we do about all these mass casualty events?
Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, one thing that I really get confused about is first of all, when people put labels, when they're saying all Democrats or all Republicans. It's not true. I'm an independent.
Okay, I'll let you continue, but let me just interrupt by saying this. When we say Democrats or Republicans, we're talking about the leadership of the party we vote in. All Democrats do not agree with Biden. All Republicans do not agree with Trump. But those are the folks making the policies.
Okay, I agree with that. I'm not talking about Americans themselves.
Okay.
So yeah, because everybody, you're going to see a range of a Democratic that is far left and then right in the middle. As far as what we're talking about with the gun laws, I'm from Massachusetts. We're probably one of the most liberal states in the union. However, almost everybody I know owns a gun. Our gun laws are extremely strict, but it's going to do absolutely nothing about the criminals. They have... you know where I'm coming from. I mean, and that's just a fact. Because criminals are going to be criminals. We're always going to have that. But when I hear about these mass shootings and I look up other states' gun laws, I'm like, how could they be so lenient? So in
because they're lenient because of what you just said. They don't believe tough gun laws makes a difference at all. So just let everybody have one.
But that's not true, though. And you cannot give that to the federal government. Do you know why? That would be political suicide. For politicians, federal politicians, think about it. So each state has their own constitution. We can all agree upon that, and they all have their own state laws. And there are certain restrictions that the federal government cannot impose on the states. But when you're
we want to think that. I understand what you're saying. We tend to want that. We tend to feel that way. But I would submit to you what's happened with the Supreme Court over the last couple of weeks have shown that a lot of things we never thought would ever happen, or it might be political suicide, can happen anyway.
Well, absolutely. But you got to remember and as you know, a Supreme Court justice is in for life. They don't have to. Okay. So we can agree upon that. When you are looking at the federal government as a whole and what it's become, it does not represent the American people. There is no more we the people. They're controlling everything. They have their own political agendas as far as to do what they want. And I also believe that they are, just like the military tactic, divide and conquer. They
So what could be
always,
done? So at the end of the day, what can be done to stop this or limit it?
there has to be, I just don't see, I'm a retired international lawyer. I just do not see our federal government stepping in. Like a few examples. When we were talking about during the pandemic and we had shutdowns, or are we going to have shutdowns? Trump gave it to the governors to decide in each state. He steered
Right.
clear of that, right? So that's the type of example I'm talking about. And we can look in our history when that was done. The abortion issue, that could have easily been rewritten. Roe versus Wade was, okay, the reason why Roe versus Wade is gone is because the way it was written is unconstitutional. So why didn't the
How
federal
so?
government rewrite it?
Well, wait a minute. When you say it's unconstitutional, even the Supreme Court never suggested it was unconstitutional.
Yes, they did.
In what way is it
It
unconstitutional?
was the way that it was written that it wasn't in accordance to the way that we look at what would constitute as a right. It never was a right. It was
Okay, yeah, that's true.
okay, it was misinterpreted. I'm 60 years old because I have never known anything but Roe versus Wade because it was 50 years, right?
Right.
But the federal government will never touch that. They will give it back to the states. They'll never
You-
touch that because whatever administration is in, whether it's Democratic or Republican, the country is so divided on that issue. They want to just give it back to the states. They're wiping
But
the
how are
ass.
you're suggesting the country is divided on the issue of abortion, but yet the polls show 70% of Americans are in favor of a woman having the right to choose, at least to some degree. So what the Supreme Court did is probably more at odds with the American people than allowing abortion to actually be legal.
Well, yeah, that it's such a conflicting thing, and I think that it all got brought up because of the extreme of abortions. Whether people are saying it's like it's all or nothing. There has to be some kind of limitations. We have states out there. There are 6 states and Washington, D.C. that have unlimited term abortions.
Yeah,
And
but they passed this law. It's very similar to passing laws that prevent Sharia law in an American state or going against drag queen shows. We're using the fringe element of these issues to pass blanket laws. Most women are not having 8 and 9 month abortions, and you got even some folks on the right. I think Ron DeSantis suggested that you can abort a 1 month old after the kid is out of the womb and 1 month old. You can actually take it back to the hospital and have it terminated. So some of this is fear,
yeah,
just
it's
based on
fear.
fear mongering.
Exactly. And then you have these radical right states that it's, what are we going back to 1960? Where women are going to have to get back alley abortions? Where they're not going to allow someone who was SA'd or a young girl whose physical body just may not even survive. You're going to let her die?
We're not going back to it. We're there. I mean, we had
Yeah,
a child in Ohio already that was SC that had to go to Indiana because his state would not allow it. So we're not
exactly.
going back to it. We've arrived.
And I know Massachusetts is one of the states, once Roe versus Wade ended, offered anybody from any state to come here. They would pay for their plane fare, the procedure, everything for them to be able to have that done. Now, that was something some states did on their own. But Yeah, because then it gets to a point when you're in a state where it's a violation or a human rights violation, it should be a federal situation,
Yeah.
because that's rights. That's not equal rights. But yeah, getting back to the gun thing. So in Massachusetts, my dad was in the military during the Vietnam era, pretty much a lifelong military man. He taught us all how to shoot, how to respect the weapon, how to use the weapon. But in Massachusetts, you have to do so many things just to get a gun license, and you are not allowed to have a gun in your possession unless you
Do you
have one.
favor that? Do you favor those limitations and regulations?
Yes, absolutely,
Okay.
100%. We do not. I can't remember in history ever having a school shooting in Massachusetts. Never happened. Never happened. And
What laws do you have in place that you believe in Massachusetts are preventing this from happening?
okay, so the first thing, when you go and apply, you got to be 21. You have to be interviewed by the chief of police. Then you have a federal query check. You have to have 2 declarations of your character that from people that have
Wow.
known you their entire life. You have to go to 6 weeks training
Damn.
of the gun, and if you do not pass that training, you do not get your license.
That's a lot of infringement, though. When
Well,
they
when
say
you think
shall not
about
be
it,
infringed, that's a lot of infringement.
it is and it isn't, because if you, I mean, I really do believe as far as going for training for everybody, because you have to
I
you
agree
have to
with that.
respect the weapon, you have to know, and our weapons have to be, if they're in your home, they have to be in a locked case, which
But
I
wait
do
a
agree
minute,
with my dad about. Go ahead.
if somebody illegally enters your domicile and
Yes,
your weapon is in a locked case, how do you defend yourself?
my dad and I laugh about that all the time.
Until one of
It's
you
like,
gets
what
shot.
sense is that? It's like, when are you gonna have time to go get your keys,
Yeah.
undo the padlock, and get your gun and load it? You could say bye by then.
But you support that law, you said.
I support all of them except for that one. I think if it was easier, where it was maybe like a push button lock that you had, um, I support that you have to go for gun training, and you also have to renew that gun license. I don't quote me on that, because this I don't know. I think it's every 5 years, but I could be wrong. I do remember, because I would always have to write a recommendation for my father. Okay, when he was in his 70s, I recently lost him 2 years ago, but I would have to write that out. A man his age who has full military experience.
Still needed to meet all of those
We
specifications.
still
Wow.
had to meet all that priority.
Uh,
It doesn't matter if you have a clean record or not. And
That's
then
a lot. That is a lot. I don't know if that would fly even in some liberal states. But Donna, I do got to move it on.
I'll let you go, but thank you for having me on anyway. And God
Uh,
bless everybody there. And remember, we all have to unite. We can agree to disagree, but we need to unite as the American people. We, the people, are supposed to be running the government.
I
That's
don't
the
know if we're
last
gonna
thing I
make that.
want to say.
All right. I don't know if we're gonna make it happen, but I
I
appreciate it. All right. Looking in the comments. Biometric locks and triggers. Now that something what she was discussing, there are liberals that would certainly agree with that. That's why it's happening in her state. But that is a lot of infringement. Certainly keeping your weapon locked while at home would be a problem if you ever needed to use it in self-defense. Here is the issue. You kind of have a seesaw of sorts. On one side of the seesaw, you have your freedom and gun rights. On the other side of the seesaw is safety. And the more freedoms you get, the less safety you have. Because you're allowing any and everybody to get firearms. The more you allow, up to and including like what she was discussing, No training required. You can literally turn 18 years of age, take the money you've been saving up at your burger flipping job, and go out and purchase a couple AR-15s. No training, no anything. And there you are sitting in the bedroom looking like you're about to film an episode of Call of Duty and you don't know how to use any damn thing you just got. That's what happened with the teenager in Ubalde. Turned 18 and was able to get his hands on these high-powered weapons. Zero training. No mental health check, anything. They just pretty much allow you to get this. And to expect that nothing may go wrong with that, it's kind of insane. It's kind of insane. Now, I understand owning a firearm or being able to obtain a firearm is a constitutional right. Unlike, say, driving. Driving is a privilege. It's not a right. But just imagine if you allowed folks at the age of 18 to be able to purchase a car. There was no license, no registration, nobody verified you actually knew how to drive. You think accidents might go up a little bit? That's the difference. Even though owning a firearm is a right, the fact that you can own firearms with no training at all, it should be predictable that some shit's going to go wrong. I mean, it really should be. I don't know enough about history to contemplate if the founding fathers ever imagined Americans owning the amount of high-powered weapons they own with no training at all. And there's a hell of a lot of Americans out here that do not have training. I understand that is the responsible thing to do, is go out and get training. But there's a lot of Americans that do not have any training on the weapons they own. Tons of them. Looking in the box, we'll keep it moving with War Horn Dad. That's a hell of a name. Asking, do we appear as if we give a damn about mass events? War Horn.
Oh man, I've talked with you a couple of times. Always a good opportunity to talk with you.
Appreciate you on. So, do you believe this country even cares about mass casualty events?
I think there is, and from that, there's a lot of appeals to emotion, and I think a lot of the outrage mobs that are formulated from that are attempts to appeal to emotion and then push to litigate those direct appeals as responses to a tragic event happening.
Let's skip over emotion. Let's say, for instance, those who are not emotional. Give me some examples. You said you think we do care about mass casualty events. Give me some examples of what we're doing to actually stop it or address it.
And the thing is, it's such a hard thing to discuss because I know they've tried the red flag laws. Unfortunately, red flag laws, you circumvent people's rights to privacy in that. So you can't. It's really hard to be able to do that, to be able to toe that line.
Let me ask you, which one is more important? Stopping people from losing their lives, or protecting the freedom to own a firearm?
Protecting the freedom to own a firearm. Absolutely, 100%.
So if you focus more on protecting people's freedom to own a firearm, it's going to be very challenging to stop people from dying.
Well, I mean, we already do what we can with the extensive background checks. It still takes me 72 hours. I've got concealed carry. I have pistols. I have semi-automatic rifles. That kind of stuff. I still require a 72-hour background check every time I purchase one, and I live in Texas. You know,
but what about training? Do you have to prove that you even know how to use what you're buying?
No, you don't have to.
Does that make sense?
It's encouraged to be out to go out there.
That means nothing. I mean, it's encouraged to wear a condom. That don't mean any damn thing. I'm asking, do you have to prove it?
I know it's encouraged, but you also people have the freedom of choice to be able to choose whether or not they buy a gun and then thereby whether they train on it. Now, I think if you don't,
let me ask you. Let me follow it up. Do you even have to prove you can see when you purchase firearms in Texas?
Yes, you do.
How so?
It's like, hey, give me that blurry black thing right there. I want to pay
No, you
500
can
bucks for
order.
it.
You can't order it by mail. There's no way to purchase a
What?
firearm unless you're physically there in
No,
person.
no, you can. So you can order, whatever you want, but it has to be sent to an FFL. An FFL then gives you the firearm from the purchase. But if that FFL does not believe you are either competent or you have ill intentions or that's possible straw purchase, they will not relinquish that firearm because all firearm sales and trades have to be done through a licensed FFL.
So let me ask it to you this way: if Stevie Wonder was to relocate to Texas, would he be banned from buying a firearm?
Oh, I mean, honestly, I,
The fact that you're
I don't know.
hesitating says a lot.
I it's like Stevie Wonder. It's like, what is he gonna do with it?
He's blind. He's not going to hit the target.
Exactly. So
But he,
I think it would be up to the discretion of the individual FFL whether or not they're going to sell. Because at the same time, these guys operate like any other shop owner. They have the right to refuse service to anybody for any reason that they choose.
so at the end of the day, it is possible for a person who is completely blind to purchase a firearm.
I think any FFL out there would look at that and say that there is no way that somebody is going to be able to this person that's buying the firearm should be able to purchase this thing. I don't think there's an FFL out there that would risk their license on it.
But do you think there should be a clear-cut law so that we don't have to hope an FFL makes that decision?
Uh, I think I think there's been 500 or so gun laws put on the books to prevent people that uh, from getting guns that shouldn't have them, and none of them seem to work.
So you personally, as a voting constituent, you would be against the law preventing a blind man from purchasing a gun.
I think it would be asinine to even address it.
So you would be against a law allowing a
Yeah,
blind man to purchase a gun.
I would be against it.
Okay. What about if you don't have any arms or legs? Can you purchase a firearm?
I think this is that's a ridiculous argument. Somebody having no arms, no legs, no ability to use the firearm. I mean, what are they going to do? Operate it through drone, like good, like and with some sort of targeting computer? No, yeah, and I think it's kind of asinine to even address it, like to try and get down to just the silly bits like that. I think there could be some real adjustments made individually by the states, and the individual FFLs of like, hey, this guy's got no arms, no legs. He can't see. Why is he in here trying to purchase this?
But you
I
don't. But at the end of the day, you don't want it to be against the law. You still want it to be up to some FFL and hoping that they make the right decision. You don't want an actual law just to make it clear. If a person cannot be depended upon to make an accurate shot, they shouldn't own the gun. You don't want a law like that.
Nope.
Okay.
No,
What?
because when you start breaking it down into these little bitty things, these little what if somebody does this, or what if somebody doesn't have these, what if somebody doesn't have these. When you start breaking it down, you're eroding the right to bear arms away, and you're slowly eroding it from people that say they do develop technology to somebody that can't see, and now they've got and their eyes now work, or somebody that was missing their arms and their legs. I've got plenty of amputee buddies from when I was in the military, guys that lost an arm. They're still able to utilize firearms. So, are you going to do with one appendage amputees or two appendage amputees? They still utilize that, and that's what they were still using those braces for. Actually, the
I
stabilizing brace.
think I would submit to you. I think our conversation. By the way, folks, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 40,000 likes. I see some lazy thumbs in here. Get it up to 40,000. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. Obviously, me and the caller have a disagreements of opinion, but he is totally free to speak his point without any fear of being blocked, banned, or censored here. I think our conversation, Warhorn, is, in my opinion, why it is so difficult to do anything about gun ownership in this country. For the most part, you believe in unfettered freedom to purchase a firearm. So if you give firearms to everybody in the country that really hasn't broken any laws, I mean, there's going to be some mental illness people that are going to slip through the cracks. I mean, I don't see operating in the manner that you suggest in regards to protecting the Second Amendment doing anything about mass casualty events. You're so focused on protecting freedom that the door is wide open for bad guys to get through too.
I mean, what was it? The 1970s and 1980s, they were still having, or 60s, 70s, and 80s, we were having firearm instruction in school. Kids were being trained with the safe handling of firearms. In the 1980s, I was receiving that firearms training in New Mexico.
Would you support mandatory firearms training?
Oh, I would. At firearm education? Absolutely.
No. So you cannot own a firearm unless you can demonstrate that you have been trained on that firearm. Would you support a law that allows you to do that?
Once again, we're going into the place where we're trying to restrict a right. And like you were talking about earlier with the cars and stuff like that, I know we actually here where I'm in Texas, my kids have to take driver's ed before they can even apply for their learner's permit. But as it was stated, it's still the right of the people. I think we
So
should bring
let
back
me rephrase
firearms
it. Let me
training.
rephrase it. If I
Okay.
walked around saying, look, I don't have any damn criminal record at all. I'm a full grown adult. I want a 50 cal and I refuse to get any damn training from about it because it's my right. Do you think I should still be able to get that 50 cal even though I made it clear I refuse to get any training?
What kind of 50 cal are we talking? Machine gun or just a rifle or pistol?
Well, just a regular pistol.
Just a regular 50 caliber. So a Desert Eagle, honestly, is like it's up to you. But with a 50 caliber pistol, you're pretty much if you don't know how to fire it, if you don't know how to fire it, you're not trained with it, you're going to break your wrist.
But you do believe in allowing me the right to get it untrained and break my wrist. You're okay with that?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't hear you. So
yeah,
okay, so I'm trying to. To me, it sounds like your biggest sticking point is against laws. You want people to be trained and responsible, but you don't want to mandate anything. You want everything to be optional.
that's the objective of a libertarian. I mean, I think less government involvement, we have a safer society. A dangerous populace is a safe one.
So I'm assuming if you believe in less government involvement, you probably
Hmm.
are against the abortion bans that just came out, correct?
I'm all about the freedom of choice. I want individual responsibility. I'm more for individual responsibility. However, when it comes to that abortion stuff, I think it should be a decision not between the government and you or that. I think it should be between the two perpetrating parties when it comes to a child being made. I think it's the responsibility of both the mother and the father whether they decide to progress that. It's not a decision that should be made by one party or another with some sort of
So
law.
you would take the government out of the picture, but
Bingo.
you would let the
Let the
dad
mom and
have a
dad,
right to stop the mother.
uh, the mom and dad. I wanted it as a mutual.
Right.
I wanted it to be a mutually beneficial arrangement.
So in other words, if the mother wants to terminate the pregnancy, but the dad wants the child to live, the dad would have the right to force.
He would also be financially responsible for making sure to ensuring the health of the mother and the child, and then they would sign, and then she would sign over her rights. I also don't believe in child support, but if
But
you
at the
help
end
bring
of the
life
day,
in this world,
the dad, if he was financially able to, he would be able to force the mom to carry that baby to term.
and vice versa,
What do you mean, vice versa?
because if say the father doesn't want to be, if the father doesn't want to be a father, shouldn't he have a say?
So if the father doesn't want to be the father, he could force her to terminate the baby.
Well, why not? It's the same way. There's only one person that gets to make the decision right now. As it stands right now, only one person gets to make the decision, and that's the mother. And
Right.
I can bring in three legal instances where young boys were SA'd by older women, and then forced to pay child support to those women because they were not permitted to be able to say anything about
Yeah,
the
that's
termination of the
terrible.
pregnancy.
I've
I've got
done videos
I've
on
got
that. That's terrible.
there
I
are
do believe, yeah, yeah.
there are three instances in that case
I
where those
agree with
boys.
that, but to
I
force a mom to undergo a medical procedure that does have some risk to it, you can lose your life doing that medical procedure. You
Oh
got
yeah.
she's pregnant, and you're going to force her to undergo a pregnancy termination that could kill her. You support that?
Like I said, I am for the mutual decision between the mother and the father. I think the government shouldn't be involved. If they can
Wow.
negotiate, if they can negotiate it out to where it's like, hey, I'm really not prepared for this, and he says, and they look at, and he really wants to have the kid, but then he understands if they were to come up with something between them as a mutually agreeable decision, I think that would be ideal. Keep the government out
But
of it.
what about the cases where it is not mutual? Let's say, for instance, in racially divisive areas, some white guy, got drunk and slept with an African American, and he don't want anybody to know he has a black child coming. He wants that child aborted. You're saying that he actually should have the right to do that.
No, because if the mother wants it, then she still gets to keep it. Like I said, it's got to be a mutually beneficial decision on that.
Okay.
If
All right.
that's where I'm going with it. It's got to be an agreeable position. If one person wants the kid, that kid's coming.
Mm,
If one person wants a child, that kid's coming because somebody's inherently saying that I'm taking the responsibility for this child. If they both say,
okay.
"Hey, we don't want this kid," good to go. Get the abortion. If, say, in the instances of the bad stuff, the health of the mother, all that other stuff, those will be contingencies built in to it as far as like, oh, health of the mother, or there was an assault, or there was a case of family involvement in there. Um, those instances can be instituted where you have a single
Yeah, I get what
party
you're saying,
decision.
but you are saying in terms of consensual sex, if that woman is pregnant, she cannot terminate that child without the dad's permission.
And like I said, and the same way, it's the same way with the other way around. Say he
That's
wants.
strong. That's a strong opinion. I got to move it on, Warhorn, but that's
Hey,
a strong opinion.
one
Appreciate you
one
coming
more
in.
one more thing
Go
on
ahead.
this. Um, Benjamin Franklin. Any society that would relinquish their liberty for safety shall have neither, nor will they deserve it.
He also said there comes a point where somebody can have more than enough money, and therefore it should return back to the states. So understand, Benjamin Franklin got a few good quotes, but I got to move it on.
All right, you have a good one, man.
You too. All right. In the comment section, control women, not guns. Damn, that came from Ryan. Control women, not guns. Listen, the man is a libertarian. He believes in, for the most part, freedom for all, unfettered government access. But the liberal in me, well, damn the liberal, the minority in me knows the history of America when there was less government intervention. If you allowed the people to act as they may, minority groups are going to get the short end of the stick. If they're even allowed to live in some communities. Which is why I often hear, I talk to my beloved MAGA. I enjoy talking to MAGA all the time. Why you liberals like big government? Well, shit, the history of small government has been awfully oppressive. If you can have fear that our government might be tyrannical based on the history of tyranny, why the hell can't we have fear that a small state, or what is a states' rights government, might not also be harmful based on the history of states' rights in America? In regards to minorities, states' rights in America have been horrendous. It has been awfully oppressive, if not abusive, to folks that look like me. Why the hell would anybody that looked like me want to go back to a states' rights government when you look at its history? All right, going back to the box, we'll keep it moving. Tony Hawkins. Good afternoon. Welcome back to the program. Hawkins, I had to put a phone like this. Hawkins,
What's up?
good afternoon.
What's up? What's up, buddy?
Not
Can you hear
much at
me
all.
okay?
We talking about mass casualty events happening all over this damn country this weekend. Do we even care? Are we even willing to try to do something to stop this stuff?
Well, so I think the people care, but the government don't care. And what I mean that is, okay, so the government runs on getting everybody hyped up. We're going to take guns. That's all they run on. We're going to take guns. Or even Biden, we're gonna codify Roe v. Wade, or we're gonna give student loans. They lie to you guys. And then you guys get all pissed off because they lied to you. And then, I'm not saying it's Democrats, I'm just saying in general.
Well,
So,
wait a minute. When you
yeah.
talk about the government is lying to us and they're going to take guns, that's not in general. That's a liberal argument. What are folks on the right doing to address mass casualty events? They're not talking about taking guns.
As far as I know, nothing, because guns are good business. Guns are great for the media. Guns are great for the masses. Guns are great for the money. They're not gonna stop it. They're not. They won't. They refuse to, because it makes them money. It gets them attention. It gets division in the country. They're not going to pursue it. They won't.
So you believe folks on the right are not going to address mass casualty events simply because guns are quote unquote good money?
I believe it's both sides, right and left. It's good money for both of them, because the left's going to tell you, we're going to go after them guns, and you guys are going to vote for them. Yeah, vote these guys in. They're going to go after the guns, and they don't go after the guns. Me personally, I'm a felon, so I can't have them. But I will let you know, I am taking the proper court proceedings to get them restored. And it's hard. It's not easy. It's not easy by far. But I'm also not going to go the back alley route.
So at the end of the day, even though you believe no one is doing anything, if you were suddenly put in a position of power, would you recommend, or should we leave it this way?
Well, so I recommend, if you get rid of the gun-free safe zone bullshit, that's gonna stop. If some weirdo's coming in with a gun thinking he's gonna shoot up a bunch of people because he's got a safe zone, there's not a weapon in sight, he's gonna do it. But if you got a weirdo and sees these motherfuckers standing outside strapped up, he's not gonna come in there. He's not.
If you believe, wait a minute, based on what you're saying, a person that wants to commit a gun crime, if they see people with guns, they're going to back off and not do that. Then I have to ask, why do so many armored car guards get robbed? They all have guns. Why do so many police officers get shot? They all have guns.
Hey, I couldn't tell you. I mean, if somebody wants a bag of money, they're going to get a bag of money. But
right, if somebody wants to harm your child, they're going to harm your child.
But there's gain in that. No, I don't think so. I don't think if an 18-year-old kid, because he thinks he can get away. At the end of the day, he's wearing body armor and shit. He thinks he can get away. They think they can get away.
Here's why I disagree with you. Even if you have a safe zone, let's take a city like Chicago that's always getting blamed for its tough gun laws. Even in Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, talking about liberal cities, any assailant knows if you go into a school in Chicago, New York, or LA where they have tough gun laws and you start harming children, it ain't going to be but a very short period of time before guns start showing up. So you're not going to go into a Chicago school and off a bunch of children and walk away and get away with it because it's a gun safe zone. You know guns are coming. Just because you don't face the same type of resistance in Texas doesn't stop you from dying. So I don't understand the notion that we believe if you give everybody in school a gun, all of a sudden this is going to stop.
I don't believe give everybody a gun in school. You can't give the kids a gun. But I believe if you have security, even Amazon's got armed security around their shit. Ain't nobody going in there. I mean, like, it's just, I don't see it happening. And I see if the AR-15, if it stops getting demonized, because it's just a 22 on steroids. Everybody says it's blowing these big old holes. It's not. It's a 22 on. It's got more powder in it. It goes farther. It's the same damn caliber. I don't get it. Watch the videos. There's videos out there that show everybody that the AR-15 is not this big old missile launcher like everybody thinks it is.
Well, the
But I
reason
don't.
why the AR-15 is getting so much attention is because mass casualty folks keep using that damn thing. If they were using a Rambo knife, people would be looking at Rambo knives. They keep using the AR-15. That's why
Yeah,
you don't see them using
but
the
the
AK-47. They're using the
but the
AR-15 over and over again.
right. The handgun is the most statistically used gun in any crime. The most used gun is a handgun. The AR-15 is just highlighted. The media highlights one gun. One gun. They highlight it.
Well,
Go look up the statistics
the
everywhere.
media. It's not the media highlighting it. It is when you look at these events, they are using that firearm more than they're using other firearms. That's why it's getting attention.
Yeah,
I
I
will
don't
say
know,
this.
but
Here's where you and I disagree, and you're welcome to critique this any way you want. But I think what you're saying, whereas an assailant will avoid a location if they know everybody has guns. I think the problem with that is you're using logic on illogical people. It's the same mindset that if we increase the penalty for committing a crime, people will stop committing that crime. You're using logic on people that are thinking illogically. No one going to
eh,
take out people in a school is weighing the options. You know you're not going to get away with it. I don't care if there's not a single gun in that building. You know at the end of the day, you're not going to take out an entire school full of kids and get away with it. They're not thinking logically like you're trying to apply to them.
I see what you're saying, but I get it. Okay, mandatory death, like death penalty, mandatory death penalties for any shootings, any you're found guilty of premeditated murder, mandatory, and not 20 years down the road, like right now. If you're not killed on scene, murk them now.
But
Found guilty,
that
take them out back,
too.
murk them.
But you're still doing exactly what I said. You're trying to use logic on illogical people. What you're trying to do is scare them into doing
Okay,
right.
but
No one,
okay,
hear
but
me out. It's just like with
yeah, yeah.
it's just like with drugs. If I'm trying to make money off of selling drugs, and I hear somebody saying, "Well, what you're doing is no longer going to come with a 5-year prison sentence. It's now going to come with 10." I don't want to do 5. So raising up the punishment, like you're talking about going from 20 years in prison to the death penalty, they're not doing any of that. You're doing reactive stuff that the assailant is not even taking into consideration.
I mean, I get it, but we don't know what's going in. We don't know what's going through their head. We can honestly say I don't know what's going through their head. I'm just thinking on my behalf. You're thinking on your behalf. I get it, and I understand where you're coming from. I really do. It might never work, but you cannot punish. You cannot punish the majority. I mean, yes, I'm a felon. I got mine taken away. I was driving under suspension, got pulled over. Legally owned a gun. Legal. 100% legal. But I got arrested for driving under suspension. When they towed my car, they found the gun. They considered it carrying a concealed weapon because it was in a Trans Am. It wasn't properly stored. So I didn't
They took
necessarily break
away
the
your
law, but I
gun rights
broke the
for
law.
that. They took away your
Yeah,
gun rights for that.
I got a felony for carrying concealed weapon because I was in an '88 Trans Am. You know, no trunk, no glove box. The magazine was not in the gun; it was separated. But I still got carrying concealed weapon because when you're in a vehicle, it has to be separated in the trunk and glove box. Trans Ams don't have trunks and
Wow.
glove box. I got a felony for carrying concealed weapon, and fortunately I can get my rights back. I've waited my 10 years. I've done great, no more trouble, nothing, and I've got a court date coming up next month for it. So,
Let me ask you. I gotta move it on, but I
yeah,
want to ask you
yeah,
this before I let you go. In the
yeah.
comments, one of the friends of the program, Andy, said, "Dude, you just proved there is one infringement everybody accepts: ex-felons." So, and she's right about that. Probably because a hell of a lot of felons are African Americans, but in this country, when it comes to taking the gun rights of felons, you don't get a lot of outcry from that.
Say that again. Sorry, on Bluetooth outside working. I didn't fully hear that.
There is one scenario where most people do not give a damn about taking away gun rights, and that is taking away the rights of a felon. Why is there not much outcry for that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, so in my situation, I see they're saying in the comments, I'm like, well, this is my real name. I'm in Ohio. Look me up. I don't give a shit. But
That's about as solid as
I've led a good life. I messed up. I fucked up once. I mean, give me a break. Like, you can give everybody in the world a break, but a felon, that's not. I fucked up. I paid my consequences, did my time, paid my prices. I did mine. I waited the 10 years that I was supposed to wait. I didn't do nothing illegal. I ain't bought shit illegally. None of that shit. I've done my time. I did my time for doing my crime.
10 years.
Let me
So this
have a
happened
fair
what,
shot.
2000, what year? 2012, 2013?
Yeah.
Wow.
The end of 12. The end of 12.
Well,
So,
it's good to hear you. It's good to hear you've kept things straight. It definitely sounds like you might have been overpunished if what you're saying is true. But I gotta
yeah,
move it on, Tony.
I had a public defender. I couldn't afford to pay an attorney. So, but yeah, I appreciate the talk, man.
Good talk. Good talk.
All right, brother.
Moving on. And as Let's see. By the way, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 60,000. Still 700 plus of you in here. So tap the screen. Don't let your thumbs be lazy. MAGA friendly program. Always will be MAGA friendly. Don't block, don't ban, don't censor anybody for their commentary. Now, me and the last guest obviously disagree on a host of issues, but that's one solid dude. As he said, you can look me up. So you can't hate on the man who said this is my real damn name and gave you the year and state. So, yeah, I believe him. I definitely believe him. Looking in the comments, it's the poor that are always targeted. Yeah, that is true. And the whole felon not being able to obtain firearms, some states trying to make it a law where they could not obtain a firearm for the rest of their lives. For those who don't believe that is deeply rooted in racism, whatever the case you want to make, but that shit is because of racism. This is another way to prevent a certain group of people, who most felons are African American, from owning firearms. And as somebody pointed out in the comments, a lot of that has to do with what my last caller said. Not being able to afford an attorney, being, given a public defender that tries to make you plea. Poor people, as somebody pointed out, it mostly affects poor people. They make the easiest victims. Most likely, someone in my last caller's predicament, let's say Hunter Biden, for instance, he wouldn't have a felony. Hunter Biden wouldn't have a felony under those circumstances. He would have been given a misdemeanor or some shit if he even had to go to court at all. Looking in the comments, racism and classism. Yep, Pipe JP1. That is true. Racism and classism. That is why felons in possession of firearms in many states cannot get a weapon for the rest of their lives. And in some cases, it doesn't even matter how mild a felony is. What my last caller was suggesting that he got in trouble for, 10 years, and then he still got to fight after the 10 years, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Going back to the box. Let's keep it moving. Big Rex. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. All of these mass casualty events in a very short period of time over the weekend,
Hey, brother.
3 mass casualty events. Do you think we're doing any damn thing to address this? Do we care about all these folks losing their lives?
Well, of course we care, but my thing is the media is hyping up mass casualty events.
How?
Uh,
How?
by throwing it in your face every 10 seconds. There's a lot of places that have multiple people shot, but locally we don't have it broadcasting every 5 seconds. These people are pushing people to get them all excited. There's an agenda behind that because eventually they're going to try to
Yeah.
do something with weapons. They
Yeah,
can't take our weapons.
there's an agenda behind it, all right. They wanted to stop. There is an
Yeah,
agenda.
but media is pushing it to where it's going to be like a dictatorship. You're not coming down here taking my weapons. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm a veteran. I don't fuck with nobody.
So
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. You
no,
can't.
you're fine. You're doing fine. Let's put us in a scenario where the media doesn't cover it at all. but it's still happening. What are the benefits if the media did not cover mass casualty events at all, but they were still taking place? How would society benefit?
It wouldn't benefit. How can
Then
you?
why
I'm
blame the
saying
media then?
I'm in South Carolina. They do not push that. You know,
Okay.
your national news when it comes on, yeah, they throwing in your face. But our local stuff do not push that because why upset the whole community over something that's happened up in Chicago or Philadelphia where it's always happening? All those same places, New York. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah,
happens
but
somewhere
just
else too.
because, okay, it's kind of like racism or what the Catholic Church was doing with children. Just because they're not constantly telling you about it and it's still happening, okay, so you're walking around Carolina and you're not upset, but people are still losing their lives. Where's the benefit to that? I don't see what's
I'm
the.
upset. I'm upset every single day, brother, because I wouldn't put up with it. If one of my members or somebody I knew was molested by one of those Catholic people, oh yeah, they wouldn't make it. That's
Well,
just, you can't do that. I'm just saying,
no,
if you
in
have
regard,
common sense,
it's a little bit off topic, but I want to ask you that in regards to the Catholic Church. Can you explain to me, if we're trying to protect children, why most Republicans are anti-LGBT but pro-Catholic? Can you explain that when the Catholic Church actually has a record of abusing children and they just simply think the LGBT community might do it? Why are they pro-Catholic but anti-LGBT?
because they're pro pedophile, they do that kind of mess. Hell, you look at that thing. There was a thing that came out that said about this organization has 416 felons and still operating. And they gave the two clues, the NFL and the NBA. Guess who it
So
was?
you
Wait a
believe the
minute, guess who it
Republican
was?
Party you
It
believe the
was
Republican
Congress.
Party. Wait.
It,
You
it
believe
was
the
Congress.
Republican. Hold on. You believe the Republican Party is pro pedo?
All them motherfuckers are. Oh, excuse me. All of them are, man. They're
All
old
right.
as hell.
All right.
Look,
Let's get
they're
back to.
old. No,
All
they're
right. Let's
old,
get back.
man. The
Okay, let's
same
get back to the.
mentality.
All right. Let's get back to the actual topic, though. Wow. So I'm asking you in regards to mass casualty events. You're talking about the news is throwing it all and upsetting everybody. So we've already said that even if the news doesn't show folks, it'll still happen. What can we do to actually address people losing their lives in these events?
Help these people that are desperate enough to go out there and get attention like that. These people are struggling. Everybody's struggling, and some can't handle it. And they
So
like
you,
the idea that I might be in the media if I do this, or I might go to jail. I might not die. That's all they have left. They have no money. They have no place to stay or something. Their environment. Our
so you're
government is
talking
making it
you're
hard.
talking about mental health. You're talking about mental health.
That too. Yeah, that's all in line with it. Because once you push to a certain extent, you don't know what you're going to do, brother. I'm of
I don't
sound
disagree.
mind, but man, when I get pissed off or something, I don't have control for a minute. You know, you get tired. And these people, they're tired, results in violence, which is not good.
So let
Nobody
me ask it
addresses
to
it.
you this way. Let me ask you if you want to talk about mental health. I've asked this before, but I'm going to ask it to you. Let's say we've had an Iraq war veteran that has come home and he has went to the doctor and told the doctor, I am waking up in the middle of the night, sweating and screaming because of some of the things I saw while I was in Fallujah. Do you believe his firearm privileges should be taken away?
No, he defended our country and my right to have one and him to have one. But our government is failing in helping these people. I'm a veteran. I go
But
to the
wait a
VA,
minute.
but
You're saying mental health is an issue, but I'm giving you a situation where a person is waking up in the middle of the night screaming, and you saying he should still have a gun in his nightstand.
yeah, because he has enough sense not to use it, only when he
How do
needs
you
to.
know that?
How do you know he doesn't? That's what I'm
Be-
saying. I'm trained. He's trained. I go through spells too, but not like that. I get pissed off enough to hurt somebody, but I would not pull my weapon unless I'm threatened in death.
But
You know,
you do realize folks who have returned home from those type of events have a higher instance of suicide, domestic violence, and all of that stuff.
20 a day, brother. 20 a
But
day.
all 20 of them should still have their firearms.
No, obviously, you got to look at this case by case, man. You know,
He's
mental
waking up,
illness.
but you're saying look at it case by case. He's waking up in cold sweat, screaming, and he's already went to the doctor and told him that. And you're saying he should still be when a gun should be there.
I said they're letting him down. He's not getting the treatment he needs. Because if he's going back home and doing the same thing, then something's not right.
Yeah,
They're
but
just shuffling him through. They think
in
it's
my
just give him medication.
but in my
He should be
opinion,
institutionalized.
if
Period.
you're allowing somebody that is admitting a war zone has them waking up screaming at night to still have a firearm, your bar for what qualifies to remove it is obviously pretty high.
No, you can't. No, but you cannot just take his weapon from him because you think he might do something. You don't know, man. He's been under a lot of pressure. He can handle pressure. I'm speaking from a veteran point of view. You're a veteran, you know.
Yeah, well, if you can't take away a person's firearm because you think they may do something, then how would you ever be able to remove a weapon from a mental health case? Because all of it's based on what you think might happen.
Okay, let me tell you something. What about that red flag law, where all I got to do is make a phone call and tell them that the handsome man is brandishing his weapon on his front porch? Can y'all send somebody to check him out? And they can come and take your junk. And you don't have any idea why
Yeah.
they're even there. You know? That's what I'm saying about people being minding their own business. He ain't. I don't think he would. I think he can handle himself. You know what I'm saying. You
Yeah.
have you have
I,
to
I,
see the
I I
person. I
get your
can't. I
point.
can't. I can't say it on here. I don't know. I don't know the man, but
So
somebody knows him.
let me ask you the same question I asked one of my other callers a little while back. Which
Okay.
one do you believe is more important? Trying to ensure that no Americans lose their lives in a mass casualty event, or making sure that no American that can rightfully own a firearm is denied the right to do so? Which one is more important to you?
I think that if I was and I served my time, I was in jail. I served my time. When I got out, I shouldn't have to put that on a what do you call it when you go to get a job, an application. I'm retired, man. I forgot that kind of stuff, but you shouldn't have to put that on there if you did your time. Why do I have to go ahead and
Yeah,
apply
man,
for
I
expungement?
agree with that, but that's not really the question I'm asking. I'm talking about
Oh, what are
which
you
one is
asking?
more important, saving lives or protecting rights?
Man, that's a messed up question. Saving lives,
We're
obviously.
talking about saving lives
No,
or,
I
or
said saving
protecting
lives,
rights.
obviously. Obviously saving lives, but you got to save your rights too. I got rights, man.
All
And my,
right.
my whole thing is to save somebody else, or me.
Would you support a law? I asked this at my last call as well. Would you support a law that made it mandatory that you have training on the firearm you own?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If you're gonna give
So
me a license to carry a firearm, I need to know that you know how to operate that thing and
okay.
the
So
laws behind it
all right. Well,
pertaining to it.
that's some progress. I mean, you and I are not totally there, but that is some progress. So you do believe a person by law should have to demonstrate that they know how to use the gun they own.
Yes, sir. I was a firearms instructor for 10 years. Yes, sir. You
Should
have
the
to know how to
government know?
operate a weapon.
Should the government know what type of guns are in your possession?
No, ain't their business. Why? Why do I have to let them know, man? Literally.
If your wife were to call the police and say you were beating her or something like that, it might help the cops out to know that you got a whole arsenal of weapons in your house.
All she'd have to say is he has weapons.
What if she wasn't able to say that? What if the neighbors called and said you were beating her ass? What
They came, brother. When they came, I would identify it to them. Hey, I'm armed. What do y'all want?
you think
That's my
bad
right.
guys
I'm in
normally?
my house. I'm in
You
my
think
house,
bad
brother.
guys? Yeah, but do you think bad guys normally identify that they're armed?
No, not the ones with
Right.
no sense. Not the ones with no sense. I'm talking with sense, brother. It may be funny to y'all. I just don't articulate like y'all do, but I know
No,
what
you're
I'm
doing
thinking.
you're doing all right. You getting your point
I
across.
know
Ain't
what I'm
nobody talking
thinking.
down to you. Yeah, ain't nobody talking. You good, man. You can say
Nah,
whatever you want.
Sammy, I
You're
ain't
doing good.
ridiculous. It's hard to
Huh?
talk on this phone, Sammy. Trust me.
Okay.
In
All right.
person,
Well, I'm
we
moving
can
on,
make
but
more.
you always
Hey,
welcome
I
back, man.
appreciate you. I
Yeah,
appreciate you. I'm
anytime.
always here, man. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Good talk. Big
Have a good
Rex,
day.
you too. All right. In the comments, police have to go and assume weapons at all times, says Kim Torres. That is true. And that is to some degree a problem. Is that our society, because the police do not know who has weapons and who does not, everybody they approach them as if their life might be in danger. That's why you often hear them saying things like, well, I need to put these handcuffs on you for your safety and mine. What the hell makes you feel like you're unsafe with me? Well, I don't know. You might have a gun. Keep your hands out of your pocket because they don't know if you have a firearm or not. Hell, some cops will even walk up and touch the quarter panel on the back of your vehicle so they can leave their fingerprints behind just in case something happens to them. We have created a society where the police and the citizens, everybody's afraid of each other because you don't know who has guns or not. I'll give you a real quick story before I go back to the box and hoping that you guys will touch the screen. I'm trying to get at least 70,000 likes. I don't see shit happening, but I'm going to ask you guys to do that. But I will tell you this. I lived over in Australia, and I got pulled over once. And I did everything they tell you to do here in America because Australia is primarily a white country, and I have had people give me the talk here about getting pulled over. You know, I got pulled over, you got your hands froze at 10 and 2, making sure you don't make any damn moves so that you don't scare the guy with the gun. I'm unarmed, but I got to put my hands on 10 and 2 and turn into a block of ice because the guy with the gun is the one that's scared. So I'm doing all of that. I get out of the car, and I'm making sure when I talk to him, I'm kind of like that with my hands up. And he actually told me, quote unquote, put your hands down. You're not in America. They know, even other countries, because America exports so much media, movies, and television, they know how citizens in America get treated by police. He actually told me, an Australian cop, put your hands down. You're not in America. I was like, I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't say shit because I got pulled over. My heart was racing. I was expecting the same type of shit that happens here. They don't do that stuff over there. They just don't. And I'll give you another quick example. I used to also moonlight as a bouncer in the clubs. I had my own business, but I was over there for a few years. And I ended up, I used to bounce in the clubs. And at the end of the night, my job with the other bouncers was to get everybody out of the club when the lights came on and get everybody off of the property. You could do whatever the hell you wanted at 2:30 in the morning, but you got to get off of the property. And we would oftentimes have, when I would do bouncing, I would be at some of the more violent clubs, where the Fijians, Samoans, the dark people, that's the hip-hop clubs in Australia are violent too. Samoans, Fijians, Tongans were there, people from Papua New Guinea, those type of people. And sometimes they would get argumentative with the police. And sometimes when I was trying to get people to leave the establishment, I would tell, you need to get up out of here because the cops come, you are brown and black just like me. When the cops come, this shit ain't gonna go well. It was foreign to them. That did not resonate with them like it does in America. Any African American I talk to in America and say some shit like that, when them people come, every African American understands that. Because their police officers treat them a hell of a lot more respectfully. It was like I was talking to a wall. They didn't know what the hell I was talking about. But any African American in this country, that conversation would click on them just like that. Anyhow, I'm going to go back to the box. Don't Trump supporters work? Always see Trump supporters begging for money on live. Really? I watch a lot of, now I'm liberal obviously, but I watch a lot of right-wing media. I don't see them begging for money. Is that true? You guys let me know. Maybe I'm missing out on something. How do we make that happen in the U.S.? Well, in the U.S., before I go right back to the box, they're leg 'em dead. You got to hold cops accountable. That's the only way to stop this stuff, is that in our country, we have given cops a hell of a lot of leeway to the point where they're not often held accountable. We tend to believe if it's a bad guy, anything that happened to him, he deserved it. Which is why anytime a cop oversteps their boundaries, oversteps their authority, the first thing they do is try to dirty up the victim. Because if I can demonstrate to society that this is a bad guy, nobody's going to give a damn what happened to him. That's why when say George Floyd, a very popular, issue in recent memory, you heard about his criminal record every damn where. Even though there is no way to know if the cops even knew about shit he did 10, 15 years earlier. Because if I can show that he's an awful guy, nobody cares that he died. And that's always the goal. In this country, we don't give the police accountability. If they had accountability, that would be the first way of limiting this stuff. Second way is obvious. Malpractice insurance. Insurance companies, whether you're driving a car or whether you're a physician operating a scalpel, no insurance company likes to pay out claims. If you are a truck driver, even if you're getting warnings, not even actual tickets, even if you're getting warnings, the insurance company is going to start taking action against you. We don't want to defend you. We don't want to insure you because you're looking more and more like somebody that's going to end up with a claim on them. You're speeding too much or you're committing this violation or that. If the police had to have some form of malpractice insurance, like a truck driver or a doctor, nurses have insurance, something that insures you against doing something wrong on the job. As a condition of being a cop, you got to have insurance as a condition of being a truck driver. You got to have insurance as a condition of being a doctor or a nurse. If they had to have some form of insurance, the insurance companies would take those claims of abuse seriously. Unlike what the taxpayers in City Hall does. You got 19 cases of people suggesting that you've been roughing them up and shit like that. For an insurance company, they have statisticians that start weighing, well, the more claims a person has against them, even if they're ruled that they were innocent, is increasing the likelihood that we're going to have to pay out eventually when they are found guilty of doing something wrong. That cop's insurance would keep going up. And eventually, either they would refuse to insure him any further, or the premiums would be too high for him to afford them. And because he has to have insurance as a condition of having a badge, that person would be out of our hair. And that has to follow them. As a truck driver, you can't get in an accident in Nevada and then go take up and get a CDL in Florida and nobody knows what happened in Nevada. It doesn't work that way. In the police department, you can do stuff like that. The lack of accountability would solve a lot. That's all you need to do. Even as a nurse, you can't go and make a mistake and give somebody the wrong prescription, take a life in one state and go to another one and nobody knows about it. Police can do all of that. So if you want to really address the problem, that's the solution, accountability. All right, going back to the box. And I saw somebody said federal NTSB. Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Fucking Sparkle Pony. All right. Appreciate I don't know if I just did that right or not. Let me see. What did I just do? America is already great, but Trump will make it great again. Well, if it's already great, what do you mean make it great again? That doesn't make any sense. Takesha, good afternoon.
Hello, handsome. How are you?
I'm doing good. You sounded formal as hell. Talking about mass casualty events. What the hell can we do to stop it? Do we even appear as if we give a damn about this?
I don't think the government cares at all, and I'm
What
gonna
about
tell
the
you.
people?
And I'm gonna tell you why. The government doesn't care because the government are made of people who don't care. And your last caller said something that's gonna prove my point. He
Which
said
is?
that if the media would stop putting it on TV every 5 seconds everywhere, basically everyone wouldn't know about it. Basically, the people that didn't care wouldn't know about it.
Yep.
Then he turned around and said, if that was one of my family members in the Catholic Church, I'd be all over that Catholic Church. Basically saying what doesn't involve me, I don't give two shits about. But what does involve me, that's what I care about. And that's how the government is. If it doesn't affect the government, they don't care. Their kids are not being PPU'd. Their kids are not being their families are not being in casual shootings. So what do they care? It's not affecting them directly. So what doesn't affect you directly, you don't care about.
That is, I can only say that's a home run. That kind of reminds me of Martin Luther King saying, all it takes for evil to exist is for good men to do nothing. And you are right that most of the atrocities out throughout American history, there was a hell of a lot of Americans stating that, it doesn't affect even racism, Jim Crow laws. Folks were like, I'm not racist. but that's not my fight. It ain't happening to me and my family. So if they want to oppress them, so be it. So I
Listen,
do
listen,
agree.
listen. It's just like you in a neighborhood. It's 6 houses on your block. Your house gets broke into. You know 4 of your neighbors don't work. They sit on the porch every day. Your house gets broken into. You go over there and ask them, have they seen anything? No, I didn't see anything. They sitting on the porch watching the folks take your stuff. But then if somebody go in their house, it's all about a neighborhood watch now.
Yeah, I've been that guy. I have been that guy who lived on the south side of Chicago on a block where people were like that and my car got broken into. And you're right, the no snitching clause definitely. In fact, it happened a few times before I moved
Until
away,
it's
but
your stuff, then you want everybody to be the snitch.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's how it is in this country. What doesn't affect you, you don't care about. Not everybody, but most people. They
But
don't
in
care.
this case, what doesn't affect people are children going to school and never coming home. I mean, we're talking about people literally losing their lives.
Handsome, if they don't care about feeding the children when they hungry, you think they really care about the other part too?
But
Think,
but wait a minute. When you say
listen,
they, I'm assuming you're talking Republicans. They believe in protecting the sanctity of life. Republicans care about kids. That's why they banned abortion.
handsome, handsome. The GOP is not pro kids, they're pro abortion. Because once the kids get here, they're anti feeding them, they're anti housing them, they're anti educating them. They don't care. They say they don't believe in killing, but they support the death penalty. If you don't believe in killing, you wouldn't support the death penalty, just like you don't support abortion. Half of them saying they don't support abortion have paid for abortion, will still be paying for abortion. They just do that to get a vote.
Mm. I don't even know where to go with that. So at the end of the day, you don't you then why are they passing anti-abortion laws saying it is for the kids? Or better
That,
yet, anti-LGBT laws. They're saying that's for the kids too.
I'm gonna tell you why they passing those abortion laws and why they passing the LGBT laws. Okay, if two men get together, two women, they cannot procreate.
True.
If a woman has an abortion, there's not another child that can come into this world. We know that the percentage of people that have abortions is not from the black race. More white women have abortions than black women. It's all about this new talking point that they have where they think that their race is going to end up being the minority rather than the majority.
You're talking about replacement theory.
I'm talking about the replacement theory. So they're going to do everything they can do to add to their race. And I don't care who doesn't agree with me. I really don't care. But
But what about the women though? If the goal is to make sure that there are more white people to offset replacement theory, what about the white women that do not want to be used as an incubator to make this happen?
what are they going to do? When have they ever stood up to their men? They vote
Mm.
based on their men. So when are they going to stand up and say, hey, I'm not going to do this? They're not. They're
Jeez.
not. I'm sorry. It's just about truth today. They're not. They believe because they got the wrong idea of what submission is. They've been tricked that submission means you do whatever that man tell you to do and you sit down.
No shit, I
Because
need to get a white woman. They do
their
that for
Bible
real.
come first.
They do that for real, but they believe you got to do whatever your man. I need to get me a white woman, really?
You don't need now, baby. You better get you a woman that gonna stand up to you and tell you to get somewhere and sit down.
Uh, well, I
That's what
married
you
a
gotta
black
do.
woman ended up getting divorced from a black woman because she wouldn't. Yeah, she was standing up to me too damn much.
No, but you want somebody you can run over and push over.
No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But
Oh,
it
okay.
does
Cause
sound good. It does sound good to be the boss at the house. I mean,
you
shit.
listen. You can be the man of the house without putting your woman behind you. Because if you
Yeah.
give that woman something to submit to, you ain't gonna have no problem with her submitting. The Bible says love your wife. It never said wives love your husband. So you got to give her a reason to love you, and then she'll respect you, and then whatever you say, she'll go along with you because she respects and loves you, and she know that whatever decision you make for the house is beneficial to her.
She'll go along with anything I ask.
Not like
Anything?
that. Not like that, Harold.
Huh? What?
Not like that now. But she will.
All right,
But she will.
I'm just trying to make sure. I mean, I'm just trying
Now
to
there
find
should be
out.
no listen. Other than bringing somebody in, there should be no limitations in that bedroom. Cause
Well,
you're not gonna go out there and get what you can't get at home, buddy. If you
all
go
right.
out there and get it, it's cause you're a whore. Because I'm giving you everything. You're coming on your lunch break, I'm bent over at the door. You coming home for dinner, I'm bent over at the oven. You gonna be asking for so much overtime to stay away from home, cause I'm gonna be weighing you out. You
Oh,
won't be cheating cause you ain't getting it.
they don't make them like you no more, though. You like a Tonka truck. They making them out of plastic now. They don't make them like you no
I'm
more.
like the Energizer Bunny. I keep going, going, and going. Just call me the love stuff store, cause I'm gonna be in there just like a porn star.
Wow. All right, Chiquita. You got my whole mindset fucked up
But
now.
let me say
I
this.
gotta move it
But
up.
wait a minute. Let me say this, cause
Sure.
I'm tired of you be rushing me off, and everybody else get 15 minutes. But listen, I gotta do a little pushback right quick. When he said that, when the guests before him said the government always lies about what they're gonna do, and he said Democrats said they're gonna take your guns. We never said we're gonna take your guns. He said Biden said he was going to try to forgive student debt. He tried to. They sued him. The Supreme Court shut it down. But he's trying to come up with an alternate way to do it. So, and then with the Philip, with
Let
the
me interrupt you real quick. In regards to Biden doing it, one of the biggest campaign slogans on the right, other than "Make America Great," is "America First." Now, forgiving tuition would obviously help out tens of thousands, if not a few million Americans. Why is a group suggesting they are about America First so against something that would help out mostly all Americans?
they don't want, they're not America first. These people don't care about the middle and the poor. You already see it in some of the policies, in some of the things they want to stop. You see that they don't care about America first, Handsome. Let's just be honest about that. They make laws that does not favor the people that really need the help, and they cut stuff that helps the people that really need it. They don't care about kids in poverty. They don't even want to get the kids free lunch at school. What is that going to harm them? What is that going to harm the economy if you give each child free food at school? That might be the only meal some kids get. So you don't even want to feed these kids for free, but you want to give tax cuts to the rich. You want to give yourself a raise on your food voucher in Congress, but you don't want to feed the kids. Make it make
Mm,
sense to me.
it doesn't. It doesn't. That's a strong opinion. No, it doesn't make sense at all. I don't, but I just wanted to ask you that because that is one of the main mantras of the folks on the right is, we're for America first.
No,
But
they
then when
not.
you start, you naming all these American things that would help out Americans, particularly those that are disadvantaged, and they're against. I mean, whether it's healthcare, as you pointed out, school lunch programs, assist. I mean, there's a host of these different. Hell, even the minimum wage that would help out most
The
all
minimum you
Americans.
you keep giving yourself a raise for sitting in Congress doing nothing, but 725, which is what it is in Alabama, is supposed to help a person, and then you get mad when they ask for stamps. They can't feed themselves and pay their bills off 725 when the doggone cost of living is rising every year.
But they're gonna blame Biden for that.
Listen, they
You
can
know they're gonna.
blame. Why they blame him for all this stuff? This man is still going right along doing his job. He is unfazed by anything any of them are saying. That's the difference with him and Trump. He don't care about the insults. He don't care what they saying about him. He don't have time to get on Twitter through the night while he trying to make sure he not wetting his bed. He is sleep because he know he got a
Wait a
job to
minute.
do the
Wait a
next
minute.
day.
I heard the wedding of the bed. Are you
You know,
suggesting that President Trump?
Trump scared that he gonna overflow his depend when he goes to sleep. So he stays up all night making posts on social media so he won't wet his bed, hoping that one day a woman will come in if he can prove that he can keep his bed dry. Because you know Melania moved out a long time ago.
Wait a minute. Melania's still his wife. You telling me they're
I
not
said she
together? Is
ain't
that
in,
what you tell?
she been out that bedroom. You remember when he said that they went in Melania's room and tore it up? They let you know they don't sleep in the same room. She was tired of waking up wet for the wrong reason.
I gotta go. I got to go. All
Goodbye.
right, Takesha. All right. Jesus, look, waking up. Well, Melania and Trump are together. How many of you folks, you think Trump's still hitting that? I mean, that is his wife. They go places, they're holding hands. I mean, yeah, he's 70 something, but do you think he ain't hitting that no more? I mean, he got a wife that used to be a model. I mean, she's an attractive woman. She's 20, 30 years younger. I mean, what is his name? Al Pacino just got his 20-something-year-old woman pregnant. You don't think Trump hit Melania at all? Wow, I see just about everybody saying no. Not one person think he hitting that. Man, and it is personal. I see in the comments. That Diana in Texas said it's personal. Yeah, but we can ask that question. You don't think he tapping that at all, huh? Man, you guys are awful. Stay out of his bedroom. If you can tell a woman she no longer has a right to choose, you're already in people's bedrooms. I can't ask about this? You don't think the man is hitting it? Wow. Looking in the comments, that's a business relationship. The chosen one. So God, you guys don't have no love for this man. Trump wears diapers, addicted to Adderall. He can't get it up. Trump wears diapers. Where is that? Because I just heard my last guest suggesting that he's wetting dicks and shit like that. I have not heard that rumor. Now, maybe I watch a hell of a lot more right-wing media than some, and obviously that's not something that the right-wing media is going to cover, suggesting that Trump wears diapers. They're too busy covering the lump in Michelle Obama's pants. But I have not heard that Trump wears some type of Depends or diapers. That's a new one. There's a reason they say riding with Biden. Jill got the thrills and chills. Black Smoke, you think Biden is... Oh, my God. Biden is taxing that, huh? Like the stutter man on New Jack City. Really? Trump can't even see. That's not... I don't think that's going to go by anybody. He ain't tapping it. Willow says he ain't tapping. So Trump ain't getting it. Oh, my God. This guy used to have playmates, centerfolds. Trump don't have access to some of the finest women in the world. You're telling me you don't believe Trump is tapping Melania at all, huh? Wow. Biden is still tearing that shit up. Wow. TV show producer confirmed Trump wears diapers. Big Cliff wanted. Send me some information. What TV show producer? Who has said that? I would like to read more on that. Who's suggesting that Trump wears Depends or diapers? I thought Trump's Depends were common knowledge. I didn't know that. Joe Baker, see either because he's too young snorting coke. They did find some powder that apparently was cocaine in the White House. President Biden was not there, but that doesn't mean the coke wasn't his. I mean, hell, it could have been in there since the Trump administration, since the Obama administration. We don't know. But they did find some cocaine in the White House. You're obsessed, says Diana in Texas. What does it mean to be obsessed? Folks often suggest, some of us liberals, you got Trump derangement syndrome. They call it TDS. And I've asked folks, if I was to take a pickup truck, get two big-ass flagpoles, stick them out of the back of the truck, and one said MAGA, the other one said Trump 2024 on it. Maybe painted Trump's face on the side of my damn car or on the hood. Would that make me have Trump derangement syndrome? Everyone I've asked that suggests they're MAGA has said no. To the point where the only way you could have Trump derangement syndrome is if you disagree with President Trump. Trump traveled the country holding rally after rally all over the country, suggesting that Hillary Clinton was a criminal, she should be locked up. Not once did I hear folks on the right suggest he had Hillary Clinton derangement syndrome. Talked about her constantly. Still right to this day, he is still talking about Hillary Clinton. Why? Because he believes she's a crook. Why does liberals talk about Trump? Because they believe he's a crook. Why is the judgment different? Trump talks about Hillary constantly. Even when he just got indicted over the documents, he brought up Hillary Clinton's emails. He is still talking about Hillary Clinton. Let the folks chant lock her up for several years continuously. No one suggested he had HDS, Hillary derangement syndrome. Is it possible for Trump to have a derangement syndrome at all, or is this something that you can only get if you have an issue with President Trump? Just wanted to ask that. Looking in the comments, you know Biden's the star of the boathouse when he's twisted on the coke and fresh. You know, and listen, I'm not going to pretend like it's not a possibility that some of these folks are doing this. I don't believe so, but I'm not going to say no, I don't know. I mean, there's been a hell of a lot of folks that we favor, love, and like that does drugs. Now, Trump hung around a lot of folks like that. You know, we talk about Quaaludes and shit like that with Bill Cosby. Trump was hanging around those folks. I don't know how he suddenly gets separated, but Joe Biden gets credit for all of this stuff. Trump was hanging around Epstein. Nobody suggested he was abusing kids, even though he's hanging around a guy that's known for doing it. So, but all of a sudden on the Biden side, the judgment seems to be a little bit different. I don't get that. Trump is still on drugs, says John Martinez. Yikes. Medial, okay, what is this? Lady Dreamer. Medial sodomization. What is that? Doesn't sound good, but what the hell is that? Biden is definitely not on coke. He's too fucking sleepy. Let's be real. Phil Walker, that is kind of funny, because if you want to suggest that Biden doesn't know where the hell he's at and he's sleepy, it doesn't, you would expect him to act like the late Robin Williams if he was on coke. All right, Trump isn't a kid sniffer. I don't know about that. The 15-year-old beauty pageants said he walked in on them and stuff like that. There have been accusations made against Trump on that level as well. If you're my beloved MAGA, you just dismiss any allegation against Trump and you validate anyone against Biden. But there's a hell of a lot of strong accusations made against Trump. Let me ask this. I'm going to have to wrap it up soon, but I want to ask this. President Trump currently has, about 70-something counts in these various indictments, and there's probably one coming out of Atlanta, coming out of Georgia, and there's certainly going to be one coming out of the January 6th issue with Merrick Garland. The question I want to ask, do you believe President Trump is 100% innocent of every single charge against him? So I want to ask you folks that, because we're talking literally dozens of charges, for everything from obstruction to espionage, dozens of charges. Do you believe personally that he is 100% innocent of every single charge being lobbied against him? Looking in the comments, 99.9%. Well, shit, what is that other 0.1%? That 0.1% charge could have a felony to it. Hell no, he is not innocent, says Travis. You are going to prison with Trump and the insurrectionists, folks. Hell no, he's guilty as fuck. Lock him up. I'm just asking this because I know folks believe the FBI is politicized. Yours truly, I also believe that. Do I believe that if Trump was a upstanding politician, wasn't constantly attacking, embarrassing, and abusing folks, do I believe he would be facing all of this stuff? If he had said, listen, Joe Biden won, we gave it our best, we'll get him again in 2024, would he be? No, I don't believe it. I do believe that the feds are politicized against Trump. Nevertheless, there is a possibility where the police or law enforcement can be after you based on shit you actually did. The example I often give, let's say I get pulled over for speeding. And when I get pulled over, I'm being an asshole to the police officers. And because I'm being an asshole, now they're writing tickets because I have low tread on my vehicle. Maybe the license plate bulb is not bright enough. Maybe I got tints on the window that are slightly too dark. They're politicized against me because I'm being an asshole. But the stuff they're coming at me for are actual violations. They're petty as fuck. They're bullshit. But they are legitimate violations. That is what I believe is happening to President Trump. Is that they're politicized against him because he's treated so many people like shit. And the stuff they're coming after him for, they probably would not be coming after him for a lot of that if he wasn't such an asshole. But the stuff they're coming after him for are actual crimes. He actually has done some of this stuff. That's what I personally believe, is that he literally talked himself into a lot of drama that he would have probably escaped if he was a regular, decent person. But maybe you folks disagree. Nevertheless, I do got to get back to work. I appreciate you folks rolling with your boy. 90,000 likes. Damn, thank you. Appreciate that. Catch you guys on the next live stream.